The sky above the planet Zorath was dark with smoke. The ground shook with explosions, and distant cries of battle filled the air. Jax, a human warrior, crouched behind a broken wall. His armor was scratched and dirty, but his eyes were sharp and alert. He had been fighting for days, and the war showed no signs of ending. Jax was not just any soldier. He was known for his courage and skill in battle. But today, something different awaited him. Something that would change everything. As he moved carefully through the rubble, Jax heard a soft sound, almost like a whisper. He followed it and found her, a young alien woman lying on the ground, badly hurt. Her skin was a pale blue and her eyes closed weakly. She wore a silver crown showing she was royalty. The alien princess, Lyra, was dying. Jax's heart raced. Around them, enemy soldiers were closing in fast. They wanted to capture or kill anyone left alive. But Jax saw something in Lyra's face, a quiet strength that made him hesitate to leave her behind. "Help me," she whispered. Jax looked at the wounds covering her body. Her breathing was shallow, and time was running out. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small medical kit, but he knew it would not be enough. Suddenly, a desperate idea came to him. There was a legend that human blood had special healing power, but no one knew if it would work on aliens. Still, Jax didn't hesitate. If it could save her life, it was worth the risk. He took out a small knife and made a quick cut on his palm. Blood welled up, bright red against the dust. Carefully, he touched his blood to Lyra's lips. At first, nothing happened. Then her eyes fluttered open, wider and brighter than before. Her breathing grew stronger, and color returned to her cheeks. Jax felt a strange warmth spread through his body, as if their blood had formed a secret connection. But the moment was short. Enemy soldiers were almost upon them. Jax grabbed Lyra's arm. "We have to move now." With great effort, he lifted her to her feet. She leaned on him, weak but alive. Together, they ran through the battlefield, dodging gunfire and explosions. Jax realized this was no ordinary rescue. Something powerful had started the moment he gave his blood to Lyra. He did not know what would happen next, but he was ready to face it. As they disappeared into the smoke, Jax knew one thing for sure. Their lives were linked forever, and the war was only just beginning. The forest near the battlefield was dark and quiet. Jax moved carefully, carrying the injured Princess Lyra on his back. Her blue skin still looked weak, but her eyes held a strange new light. Jax wondered what had changed inside her after he gave her his blood. They finally reached a small clearing far from the fighting. Jax gently set Lyra down on a bed of soft leaves. She looked up at him, her eyes full of questions and something else. "Hope. Why did you help me?" Lyra asked, her voice still weak but clearer now. Jax smiled. "Because you deserve to live, no matter where you come from." Lyra nodded. "I thought humans only wanted to destroy us." Jax shook his head. "Not all of us. Some of us want to build a better future." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lyra reached out and touched her wrist. "After you gave me your blood, I felt different, stronger, but also strange." Jax looked at his own hand, remembering the sharp cut he made. He felt a warmth there, like a quiet fire burning inside. "Me too," he said. "It's like we're connected somehow." Suddenly, Lyra's eyes widened. She stood up quickly and moved to a nearby rock. Raising her hand, she focused hard. To Jax's surprise, a small ball of blue light appeared above her palm. It danced and sparkled like a tiny star. "I can control energy," she said, amazed. "I never could do this before." Jax's jaw dropped. "That's incredible. Your blood, no, our blood, did this." Lyra's face grew serious. "This power could save my people, but it could also destroy us if we don't learn to control it." Jax nodded. "We need to find a safe place where you can get stronger." Suddenly, loud noises echoed from the forest edge. Jax grabbed his weapon. "They found us. We have to move." Lyra grabbed his arm. Wait, before we go, I want to make a promise. Jax looked at her. What kind of promise? We are bound now by your blood and my life, Lyra said, her voice steady. If one of us falls, the other will carry the fight, no matter what. Jax's eyes shone with respect. I promise. They shook hands, sealing their pact. The moment felt powerful, as if the universe itself had noticed their bond. With that, they slipped into the shadows, ready to face the dangers ahead. As they disappeared into the forest, Jax wondered what the future held. Could a human and an alien princess really change the fate of the galaxy? He hoped the answer was yes. But one thing was clear. The blood pact had changed everything. The forest grew darker as night fell, but Lyra's eyes shone with a strange light. She sat by a small fire, watching the flames dance. Jax sat beside her, keeping watch. Both were tired, but something new was happening. Something neither of them fully understood. Lyra's body felt different. Her wounds were healing faster than before. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight. Every now and then, she would close her eyes and focus, trying to control the strange energy rising inside her. Jax watched her carefully. How do you feel? Lyra opened her eyes and smiled softly. Stronger. But it's like there's a storm inside me, power that I don't know how to use yet. Jax nodded. It's the blood. Your body is changing because of it. Suddenly, Lyra stood up and stretched her hands out in front of her. She focused hard, and the small ball of blue light appeared again, brighter this time. It hovered between her palms, pulsing with energy. Jax's eyes widened. That's amazing. You're getting better at it already. Lyra looked at him with hope. Maybe I can help my people after all. Then, without warning, the ball of light exploded into a flash, sending a wave of energy through the clearing. Trees shook. Leaves flew everywhere, and the ground trembled slightly. Jax caught Lyra's arm to steady her. Careful. You almost lost control. Lyra nodded, breathing hard. I need to learn to control this power. If I can't, I could hurt those I want to protect. Jax thought for a moment. There's a place not far from here. An old temple. It's said to be a place of learning and strength. Maybe you can find answers there. Lyra's eyes lit up. Then we should go. I want to be ready for what's coming. As they prepared to leave, Jax noticed something strange. His own body felt different too. A sudden warmth in his chest, like the fire inside Lyra was also burning inside him. He touched his palm and saw a faint blue glow, the same as Lyra's light. Is this happening to you too? Lyra asked, surprised. Jax nodded slowly. I don't know what it means, but I feel stronger too. Together they set off through the forest, moving carefully but quickly. The night was full of sounds, distant howls, rustling leaves, reminders that danger was never far. Still, Jax felt a new kind of hope. They had survived the battlefield, formed a bond through blood, and now they carried a power that might change everything. What happens next, Lyra? Jax asked quietly. She looked at him, eyes full of determination. We become stronger. We fight to save my people, and we prove that humans and aliens can stand together. Jax smiled. Then, let's not waste any time. With that, they disappeared deeper into the dark forest, ready to face the unknown. Jax and Lyra moved swiftly through the thick forest, their footsteps silent on the soft ground. The night was alive with strange sounds, distant howls and the rustle of leaves, but they could not stop. The enemy was coming, and every second counted. Lyra still felt the power inside her, but she was tired. Her body was healing, but the strain of running was heavy. Jax noticed and kept close, ready to protect her. Suddenly, a sharp noise cut through the night, the crack of a twig underfoot. Both froze. Someone's here, Jax whispered, pulling Lyra behind a large tree. From the shadows emerged a small group of alien soldiers, dark-clad and armed. Their eyes burned with anger as they searched the forest. Jax held his breath. We can't let them catch us. Lyra nodded, her fingers trembling as she summoned a faint blue light in her palm. "I'm ready." The soldiers moved closer. Jax grabbed a fallen branch, ready to fight if needed. But then, before the soldiers could spot them, Lyra raised her hand. The blue light flared brightly, sending a sudden burst of energy toward the soldiers. They stumbled back, surprised by the strange power. "Run!" Jax shouted, pulling Lyra through the trees. They raced deeper into the forest, dodging branches and leaping over roots. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. The enemy was not giving up. As they ran, Lyra gasped, "Jax, we can't keep this up. I'm not strong enough yet." "We'll find a place to hide," Jax promised. "Then you can rest and train." They came to a narrow cave entrance hidden by vines. Jax pushed the plants aside, and they slipped inside just as the enemy forces arrived. The soldiers stopped at the cave mouth, shouting orders and scanning the darkness. But Jax and Lyra were safe, for now. Inside the cave, the air was cool and quiet. Lyra sank to the ground, exhausted. Jax knelt beside her. "You did great back there. Your power scared them." Lyra smiled weakly. "It scares me too. What if I lose control?" Jax shook his head. "You won't. We'll learn together. I'm not leaving your side." Suddenly the cave trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling and a low rumble echoed through the tunnels. "What was that?" Lyra asked, alarmed. Jax stood up, alert. "I don't know, but we need to be ready." From the darkness came a soft glow. It grew brighter, revealing ancient symbols carved into the cave walls. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. "This must be the temple you told me about." Jax nodded. "It looks like a place of power." They spent the next hours exploring the cave, discovering strange markings and relics. Lyra felt her strength growing with every step. The power inside her was awakening. Outside, the enemy soldiers searched the forest, frustrated. They had lost the princess once and would not stop until they found her again. But inside the cave, Lyra and Jax prepared for what was coming next. The war was far from over, and their fight was just beginning. The cave was quiet except for the soft echoes of footsteps. Jax and Lyra had spent the night exploring the ancient temple hidden inside. The walls were covered with strange symbols and glowing stones, and Lyra felt her power growing stronger with every moment. But they both knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Outside, enemies still searched for them, and Lyra's people were counting on her to return, stronger than ever. "We need help," Lyra said quietly. "Alone, I'm not enough." Jax nodded. "I know a group, not soldiers, but rebels. They don't trust humans, but they want peace. Maybe they'll help us." Lyra looked at him with hope. "Then we must find them." They left the cave and moved cautiously through the forest. After hours of walking, they reached a small camp hidden in the trees. The rebels were a mix of different alien species, all rough and wary. When the rebels saw Jax and Lyra, they surrounded them quickly. Weapons were pointed and eyes full of suspicion stared down. One rebel stepped forward. He was tall, with green skin and sharp eyes. "Why should we trust a human and an alien princess together? You're both enemies." Jax raised his hands. "I'm not here to fight. I want to stop this war. Lyra and I are working together." Lyra's voice was calm but strong. "We share a bond now, my life and his blood. We are proof that humans and aliens can unite." The rebel leader narrowed his eyes. "Words are easy. Prove it." Jax looked around the camp, seeing tired faces and old wounds. "I fought for peace, not destruction. Let me show you." Over the next days, Jax helped the rebels train and defend the camp. He shared stories of battles fought for freedom and honor, not hate. Slowly, the rebels began to see him differently. Lyra worked hard, too. She practiced controlling her powers, learning to focus the energy inside her. The rebels watched, amazed at her strength and determination. One night, as they gathered around a fire, the rebel leader spoke again. "Maybe the prophecy about a hybrid savior is true. Maybe you are the key to ending this war." Lyra nodded. I want to believe that. But first we must prepare. The enemy will not stop. Jack smiled. And neither will we. The camp grew stronger with each passing day. Humans, aliens, and rebels stood side by side. They shared food, stories, and hope for a future without war, but danger was never far. Scouts reported enemy movements nearby and the rebels prepared for battle. As the sun rose, Jax and Lyra stood together, ready to face whatever came next. Their bond was more than blood. It was trust, friendship, and a promise to protect each other. The war was far from over, but with allies by their side, they had a chance. And that chance was everything. The cave was quiet except for the soft echoes of footsteps. Jax and Lyra had spent the night exploring the ancient temple hidden inside. The walls were covered with strange symbols and glowing stones, and Lyra felt her power growing stronger with every moment. But they both knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Outside, enemies still searched for them, and Lyra's people were counting on her to return, stronger than ever. We need help, Lyra said quietly. Alone, I'm not enough. Jax nodded. I know a group, not soldiers, but rebels. They don't trust humans, but they want peace. Maybe they'll help us. Lyra looked at him with hope. Then we must find them. They left the cave and moved cautiously through the forest. After hours of walking, they reached a small camp hidden in the trees. The rebels were a mix of different alien species, all rough and wary. When the rebels saw Jax and Lyra, they surrounded them quickly. Weapons were pointed and eyes full of suspicion stared down. One rebel stepped forward. He was tall, with green skin and sharp eyes. Why should we trust a human and an alien princess together? You're both enemies. Jax raised his hands. I'm not here to fight, I want to stop this war. Lyra and I are working together. Lyra's voice was calm but strong. We share a bond now, my life and his blood. We are proof that humans and aliens can unite. The rebel leader narrowed his eyes. Words are easy, prove it. Jax looked around the camp, seeing tired faces and old wounds. I fought for peace, not destruction, let me show you. Over the next days, Jax helped the rebels train and defend the camp. He shared stories of battles fought for freedom and honor, not hate. Slowly, the rebels began to see him differently. Lyra worked hard, too. She practiced controlling her powers, learning to focus the energy inside her. The rebels watched, amazed at her strength and determination. One night, as they gathered around a fire, the rebel leader spoke again. Maybe the prophecy about a hybrid savior is true. Maybe you are the key to ending this war. Lyra nodded. I want to believe that. But first we must prepare. The enemy will not stop. Jack smiled. And neither will we. The camp grew stronger with each passing day. Humans, aliens, and rebels stood side by side. They shared food, stories, and hope for a future without war, but danger was never far. Scouts reported enemy movements nearby and the rebels prepared for battle. As the sun rose, Jax and Lyra stood together, ready to face whatever came next. Their bond was more than blood. It was trust, friendship, and a promise to protect each other. The war was far from over, but with allies by their side, they had a chance. And that chance was everything. The rebel camp was tense. Soldiers sharpened their weapons, checked their armor, and whispered about the army fast approaching. Jax stood at the edge of the camp, watching the horizon where thick clouds of dust rose. The enemy was close. Too close. Lyra walked beside him, her eyes fierce but calm. The power inside her was stronger than ever, but she knew the real test was ahead. The warlord who led the enemy forces wanted to destroy them both. The hybrid and the hope they carried. We can't let him win, Lyra said quietly. If he destroys me, the prophecy dies with me. Jax clenched his fists. We won't let that happen. The warlord's army was massive, soldiers from many worlds armed with deadly weapons designed to fight hybrids like Lyra. Jax studied the enemy's strategy and realized this battle would be unlike any they had faced before. Need a plan, he said. A way to use your powers and the rebels' skills together. Lyra nodded. I'll lead the front lines. You and the rebels hold the defenses. As night fell, the camp prepared for battle. Fires burned bright, but the air was cold with fear and determination. Lyra sat alone for a moment, focusing on the energy inside her. She felt the blood bond with Jax, steady and strong. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The warlord has sent scouts to find our weak points. They plan to strike before dawn. Jax's eyes sharpened. We must be ready. The next morning, the enemy attacked. Explosions shook the ground. Lasers cut through the trees. Soldiers clashed in fierce combat. Lyra charged ahead, her blue light flashing like lightning. She used her powers to protect the rebels, creating shields of energy and striking down enemies with powerful blasts. Jax fought at her side, cutting down attackers and rallying the rebels. Together, they pushed back the enemy's first wave. But the warlord was not done. He entered the battlefield himself, a towering figure in dark armor, wielding a weapon that pulsed with dangerous energy. He moved fast, attacking Lyra with deadly precision. Lyra dodged and blocked, but the warlord's strength was overwhelming. She felt her power flicker, her control slipping. Jax saw the danger and rushed to her side. Hold on, Lyra. We're stronger together. Lyra nodded and focused on their bond. Their blood connection flared, sending a wave of energy between them. Lyra's power returned, brighter and stronger than before. With renewed strength, Lyra struck back. Her energy surged in brilliant waves, pushing the warlord back. The battle raged on, but hope burned in their hearts. The bond between Jax and Lyra was more than blood. It was a force the enemy could not break. As the sun rose higher, the warlord retreated with his army, but the war was far from over. Jax and Lyra stood together on the battlefield, ready for whatever came next. Their fight had only just begun. The battlefield was silent after the storm of battle. Smoke rose from the broken ground and the sun cast long shadows over the fallen soldiers. Jax knelt beside Lyra, who was breathing hard. Her strength had been pushed to the limit. You did well, Jax said softly, but this is only the beginning. Lyra nodded, pain and determination mixed in her eyes. I almost lost control, she admitted. The warlord's power was too strong. Jax helped her to her feet. You didn't lose, you fought, and you got stronger. They looked out over the field where their allies began to regroup. The rebels were battered but alive, inspired by Lyra's courage. Now, Lyra said, it's time I take full command. Jax smiled with pride. I'll stand with you. Over the next days, Lyra worked harder than ever. She trained with the rebels, learning to focus her powers and control the energy within. She wasn't just the princess anymore. She was a leader, a symbol of hope. Her connection to Jax grew deeper, their blood bond strengthening every day. Together they planned their next moves, gathering intelligence and preparing strategies. One night, as they studied a map of the war zones, a scout arrived with urgent news. The warlord is moving to strike the rebel stronghold, the scout said. He wants to end this war quickly. Lyra's face grew serious. Then we must be ready. We can't let him win. Jax placed a hand on her shoulder. We won't. We fight for all who believe in peace. The rebels rallied, their spirits lifted by Lyra's leadership. Humans and aliens fought side by side, united by a common goal. When the warlord's army arrived at the stronghold, they met fierce resistance. Lyra led the charge, her powers lighting up the battlefield. Energy shields protected their forces, and blasts of blue light pushed back the attackers. Jax fought at her side, his skill and courage inspiring the rebels. The warlord attacked again, but this time Lyra was ready. She used her powers with precision, blocking his strikes and forcing him back. In the heat of battle, Lyra shouted, "This ends now!" She unleashed a powerful wave of energy, pushing the warlord's forces into retreat. As the enemy withdrew, the rebels cheered. The turning point in the war had come. Lyra and Jax stood together, tired but victorious. "We've won a battle," Lyra said. But the war isn't over. Jax nodded. We'll keep fighting. Together. Their bond was stronger than ever, and with it, the hope of a new future. The rebel stronghold buzzed with energy. After their hard-fought victory, the rebels and humans worked side by side, repairing defenses and preparing for what might come next. The bond between Lyra and Jax had become a symbol for everyone, proof that enemies could become allies. In a large tent, Lyra stood before a crowd of mixed species, humans, aliens, and rebels. Her voice was strong and clear. We have fought many battles, she said, but the real war is to build peace. We cannot win by fighting alone. We must stand together, humans and aliens, and as one. The crowd murmured, some hesitant, some hopeful. Jax stepped forward. I know many of you don't trust humans, but I promise we want the same thing. Peace and a future for all our people. An elder rebel nodded. Your words give us hope, Princess Lyra. Lyra smiled. Then let us create a new alliance, one built on trust, respect, and shared sacrifice. The room filled with quiet determination. Plans were made for councils and missions to unite other groups across the galaxy. But not everyone was ready for peace. Scouts reported that the warlord was gathering new forces, determined to crush the alliance. Lyra looked at Jax. We must be strong, not just in battle, but in heart. Jax nodded. We fight for the future we believe in. Days turned into weeks as the alliance grew stronger. Soldiers trained together, sharing tactics and stories. Communities began to heal old wounds, and hope spread like wildfire. One evening, Lyra and Jax stood on a hill overlooking the stronghold. Do you think this peace can last? Lyra asked quietly. Jax smiled. It has to. We've come too far to turn back now. She leaned on his shoulder. Thank you for believing in me. In us. Jax wrapped his arm around her. We're stronger together. Always. Below them, the stars began to shine, lighting the path to a new dawn. But the warlord was still out there waiting for his chance. The fight for peace was not over. It was only just beginning. The first light of dawn painted the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. Lyra stood on the hilltop looking out over the rebuilding stronghold. The battles had been hard, and the road ahead was still full of challenges, but hope burned brightly in her heart. Jax joined her, his steps quiet but steady. It's a new day, he said. For us, for everyone. Lyra smiled. We've come so far. From enemies to allies, from fear to trust. They stood together, feeling the weight of their journey. The battles fought, the sacrifices made, and the bond sealed in blood and trust. This is just the beginning, Lyra said. There are still many worlds to unite, many wounds to heal. Jax nodded. But now we know we can do it. Together. Their blood bond had changed more than just their own lives. It had inspired a galaxy. News arrived that distant planets, once hostile, were sending ambassadors to join the new alliance. The hope that Lyra and Jax carried was spreading. But with hope came responsibility. Lyra knew she had to lead not just with power, but with wisdom and kindness. As the sun rose higher, she turned to Jax. Will you stand by me? Always, he said. Their hands clasped tightly, a symbol of unity and strength. Together, they would face whatever challenges came next. They would protect the weak, fight for peace, and build a future where humans and aliens could live, together in harmony. The warlord was defeated but not destroyed. The galaxy still had dangers, but Lyra and Jax were ready. Their bond, born of blood and battle, was unbreakable, and with it, a new dawn had come. The future was theirs to shape.